Okay, so we are here to talk about a new project that we've started all together, and it's called the Unashamed Collective. And Zach, I think you'd be the perfect person to talk about what is the
Sure.
Unashamed Collective.
Yeah. And actually, I think the best way to do it is I actually want to read just the mission statement
Oh
that we
yeah,
produced. I
it's a
think
good
that's
idea.
probably the best way to summarize it, uh, because we all know that a curated script is going to be better than my ramblings, at least at this point. Maybe we can explore
I
ramblings
want
later
all
on.
the ramblings.
That's just fine. Okay, so we are unashamed, bold in faith, confident in Christ, united in purpose. Unashamed Collective exists to empower disciples of Jesus Christ to wear their testimony, literally and unapologetically. Inspired by the courage of early believers and the conviction of modern day saints, we create apparel that sparks conversations, strengthens identities, and deepens devotion. We don't replace the church, we amplify its message. As members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter day Saints, we stand as a witness of Christ in all we do, striving to reflect his light in our everyday lives. Our designs are more than fashion, they are declarations of faith, reminders of who we are, and invitations to share his love with the world.
Okay, can I just bring up a point that you made me think of as you read about the early believers?
Totally.
And I think it'll tie into us telling a little bit of the backstory of how Unashamed even came to be. One of the reasons why I think that this is such an important thing that we're starting with the Unashamed Collective is we're kind of drawing back to the early believers. I've been reading Saints, the history of the church, and as we've been studying Doctrine and Covenants and the scriptures, a lot of the times one of the things that stands out to me is they are unashamed, right? And maybe it's because this has been on my mind, but I look at them and I say, what happened to like the early saints when they were dancing and singing at the top of their lungs and they were just like praising? They were, you think of like the apostles and they had this whole experience where they were speaking in tongues, and you have all of this. And then sometimes we go to church and it's like we're just kind of singing as little as we can, or and I think a lot of, at least me personally, I don't want to speak for the church or for members of the church, but me personally on my faith journey, there have been many moments where I'm like, man, where's my conviction?
Hmm.
Or why am I so afraid to share what I believe anymore? And so I look at a lot of the early saints and a lot of early believers and Christians, and they were just absolutely unashamed. And part of why that ties in is because I remember the last couple of years as I've seen that in my own faith journey. One of the things that I saw in this coaching group I was a part of was it was a bunch of Christians from all around the country, and it was Christian men that were trying to be better husbands, fathers, all that. And I noticed, I think I was the only Latter-day Saint in the group, but they were all so unashamed. I looked at their social media; they were constantly wearing Christ on their shirt. Like they had a shirt that talked about that I can't even remember what it said, but they had these jerseys and all of this apparel that they'd wear, and a lot of it was them sharing their testimony, or it had a scripture on it, and they were always talking about their faith online. And I just thought, man, what happened? Like I want to be that unashamed. I want to share my faith on what I wear, but it just doesn't really exist that I know of.
Sure.
And so that's a little bit of some backstory from my thinking as we one day were having a conversation because you called me.
Yeah, out of the blue.
Yeah, I was in line at Disneyland and I had a little bit of time to kill, and
Yep.
I was with my family, and you just called me up and, well, tell me what you,
Yeah.
tell
I
me,
mean,
walk me through that
my
conversation.
similar backstory was I was kind of doing an evaluation of my life, and I've been trying to adopt this concept of being a man of principle or a principled man, which I was doing. I mean, for lack of a better word, I was taking inventory of my life and saying what what decisions are being made for me, and I'm going along for the ride, and I'm okay with those decisions being made for me, and I shouldn't be okay with them, and which decisions am I making intentionally, and therefore I am making the most out of my life. So I want to find the principles that I believe in and abide by those principles, and I was kind of taking stock of all those things. And then one day I was looking at my closet and gonna put on clothes, and I was just like, man, I'm kind of allowing these brands to make the decision of what I wear and represent externally. And so I said, I don't want to do that. And then I said, do I have the skills to make a brand that represents what I believe in? I said, no, I do not. I do not have those skills. Yeah. But I have friends that have those skills. I know people. And so then what's funny is I immediately thought of you, John, and I said, all right, I'm going to call John. And it was literally that day when I was driving around Deer Creek, and I said, I called you, and you're like, I'm at Disneyland. What's up, dude?
That makes it even better.
And
yeah. Very memorable.
But it was also serendipitous where you were saying, I've had this same feeling. And I was like, well, great, let's do it. And then I recently just saw that night I drew a handful of very, very poorly drawn emblems, symbols of like the bread of life or the iron rod or the brazen serpent or things that we could play on so that we can wear what we believe, so that we can be intentional and purposeful with what we are showing to the world externally on our clothing. So that I think that's two reasons. One is I can feel fulfilled in that purpose, but then two, I can also utilize it as a starter of conversations. So that when somebody, even since I've worn this hat, right, which is look, like this is a nod to the brazen serpent. The scriptures reference to Moses raising the brazen serpent so that those who are bitten by the poisonous serpents can look and live to the brazen serpent. And people are like, what is that? What is it? It says look. And what does that mean? And then I can explain it. I can say, I wear what I believe. This is the brazen serpent. And I can expound on the story, but that was the whole of it, was me wanting to find a way to be principled, wear what I believe, and share it with others.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then I called you, and then we're in life circumstances that were a little bit tumultuous.
Right,
I think tumultuous.
That's a great word for it.
Choose your word wisely.
Yeah, tumultuous.
That feels right. Yeah.
And then one day we said, okay, we really want to get this off the ground. Who do we bring on board? And then it was funny. And speaking of when I instantaneously thought of you to call you, I instantly was like, we should ask Brinkley. And so I'd love to hear Brink your background.
Thanks for bringing me on. That's such an honor. I don't know, what do you mean by background? What do you want to hear?
Background
just
about
why I'm here.
Why is this project important to you, and why did you decide to jump on when your crazy old brother-in-law called you and said like, hey, do you want to do this project? Yeah, crazy comma old and crazy old. Both crazy and old, and then also crazy old.
Crazy old.
All of the above.
Yeah.
Somehow I won't let you guys ever forget that.
Yeah, we know. You remind us constantly how old we are.
That's good. Well, I was so happy to get a call from you, and I'm just grateful that you thought of me in a project like this. And I didn't really know John.
I didn't think of you, so
it's okay. I wouldn't have thought of you either. But that's what's so fun and that's what to me the whole Unashamed Collective is it's exactly what I've seen over the last few months with the three of us come together and have places where we can share our faith and our beliefs and feel like we have a community, if you would, that shares the same beliefs about the restored gospel of Jesus Christ. But to me, Unashamed Collective and what I became so in love with this concept was I am a new mother. I'm expecting our second baby, and sometimes you just have to do the bare minimum and get through things. But I have always tried to live my life as an intentional mother, as an intentional wife, as an intentional daughter of God. And just like you said, Zach, when you said the word being a principled man, and then you're talking about being intentional, that's the concept that I bought onto as well, is when I put something on, I don't want to just wear a hat out of it looks cute or it's trending or it's popular, but out of I believe in what I'm wearing. And our mission statement talks about having reminders, making declarations and invitations. And that's what's kind of cool to buy on with these hats is it gives you an opportunity, like you said, to have conversations and to be bold. So I loved the concept of being able to be bold in my beliefs and to live intentionally, to even down to what hat I'm wearing with the brand I'm repping. It's intentional.
I love that. And I think that word is so important because we've talked about it a lot about there's so many opportunities to live intentionally now, which can be really, can give a lot of anxiety because you're choosing things constantly.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it also is really empowering. And I think with all of the distractions that are going on in the world, I think that's why this is important now more than ever. as these reminders. And I think about, I feel like in every religious tradition or sacred tradition, there's always some part of it that has to do with what we wear, or the way that we dress, or the way that we whatever. And we see that in our faith with with our garments, or with the clothing that we wear to church or to the temple. And I think, and you look at the temples, for example, and there's symbolism everywhere, and they're all to remind us of what's most important. So I think if we're following that same example, I think it's cool to have something where you go into your closet, and instead of putting on, and I'll wear other symbols all the time, so it's not a dig against that, but it's that added level of intentionality and meaning in how I want to live my life. And because we can now, why not?
Why not?
And when someone asks about what you're wearing, you have to answer, and you have to have an answer.
Yeah.
You have to be prepared to be able to answer the question about what you're wearing.
Yeah. And I love that it will start conversations.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you look at the hat that you're wearing, Zach, it's some people will say, well, why does it, look, what does that have to do with anything? And, if somebody's really a scholar, or they read the scriptures, they might know.
Sure.
But even if not, it still sparks a conversation for believers and non-believers alike, because then they're saying, oh, well, I've never heard that story before.
Totally.
Please tell me more. And you're like, great, let me tell you about a really cool
Absolutely.
time
Absolutely.
when people were given a pretty simple answer, and some of them were so prideful that they wouldn't listen to Moses and just look.
Totally.
And that's what we're asked to do. And I just think it's a really cool way to be intentional about our lives.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Yeah.
As far as look goes, and I maybe wasn't a part of this, I now have the draft, the sketches. We refer to it often.
Yeah,
so
we
you
do.
shouldn't be critical of it, because we 100%
Sure.
use those design concepts. We
Yes.
do, right?
Yeah.
We refer to it often. But why, I guess, look, and we know of other collections that maybe we have coming down the line. I guess maybe should we talk about what that might look for us?
Sure. Yeah.
What's that going to look like? And why those hidden symbols with the Unashamed Collective?
Yeah. I think my thought behind this was, when we were drawing up those original sketches, and the idea of this was, there are a lot of stories that have a lot of meaning and power and symbol behind them.
Yeah.
So I don't want this to be a fast fashion thing where we're just producing hats that are, or apparel, because I want to do apparel eventually as well, where it's just spin it up, spit it out, just wanting to convince people to buy more stuff. If anything, that's one thing I hate about society today, is it's heavily consumerist. Mm-hmm. When I buy something, I want to wear that for a very long time.
Yeah.
And I want
especially if you're going to put some good money into it. Yeah.
If I'm going to buy something, I want to buy something that is high quality, that means something to me, and that I can wear for a long time. And frankly, I would even love to give it to my kids when they get, there are some things that my dad has that I've even asked him. I was like, when you die, can I dibs that?
Exactly. We all know the sticky notes.
Absolutely. And we joke about that. That'll be a really sad time. But there are articles of clothing, I feel like, have lost some of its savor over the past decades because of fast fashion. And so what I wanted to do was produce limited runs, 25 to 50 hats per design, that have a lot of meaning and effort behind, to make them purposeful, intentional, beautiful, and incredibly high quality. And I think this is actually one thing to mention, where we're utilizing a well-known Utah brand, a Wooden Grail, to produce these hats for us.
Best.
And Alex is the man. Really great dude, and we're so thankful for that, for them being able to produce Unashamed Collective hats, because we know they're going to be top-notch quality, and the material and their advice on what will resonate with people to make the brand that much more powerful.
Talk about intentional. Everything they do, down to the very little detail of every aspect of their product.
Intentional.
Well, and I will say,
Brink,
to your credit, we came into this with, I have some apparel background, and we were trying to find the best that we could. But one day when we were working with an amazing company, you came to the table and you said, "Hey, there's this brand."
Yeah, I like major
Yeah, you're like-
girl over
Yeah.
Wooden Girl.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
do.
You're like, "There's this brand. If we can do it like them, that would be amazing." We're like, "Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
that'd be nice, but
Yeah.
like it's probably so expensive."
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
that's when John's like, I have a connection. Let me see if I can. I was like,
Yeah,
what is
always.
happening? And that's when I was like, I'm so glad I'm not doing this alone.
Well, right, and it just kind of shows the how we all play a different part in this.
For sure.
As a team, as we're trying to
Well,
get this out there.
Can I back up a
Yeah,
second and
yeah.
tell how I found Wooden Girl?
Yeah,
Because
please.
I just want even just Alex and Tyler at Wooden Girl to hear this,
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
I think this is any person's dream of someone that's a consumer. Is I went to a BYU basketball game, or no, it was a football game at that time. I went to a BYU football game, and I saw a Wooden Girl hat. Didn't know it was a Wooden Girl hat, but I saw the hat and I was like, my husband has to have
one of
that
those.
hat. It was just so cool and
Yeah.
sleek and classy, and I had to find that hat. And so I went searching. I'm not even on social media, but I got on the app and I got on search and was looking through tags and tagged people and hashtags, and I was just looking for anything that I could find, and I finally found Wooden Girl. And then that is how I sought them out that hard, because I had to have that hat, and I at the time didn't know it was a Wooden Girl hat. But
That's awesome.
Which is funny because they were kind of blowing up at that time,
Yes,
and
yeah. Yeah.
I had been seeing those hats everywhere, like especially the white, the cream one with the white, or
Yes.
the blue
The blue
Y.
Yeah.
stack, the OG.
Yeah, I've been
OG.
seeing those everywhere.
Yeah. For
sure.
And so you brought it up. I'm like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
I've
you
seen
know
those,
what
and
I-
that's the
you
one
know
that
what
I've been
I-
wanting
right?
too.
Exactly,
But I
yeah.
had no idea
Yeah.
that was their name.
But
so.
a whole concept, and what we kind of love in Unashamed Collective, and maybe it's something I don't remember if you guys feel strongly about it as well, but I love the concept with Unashamed Collective of having old lettermen. That's who I think about.
Yeah.
Someone that's unashamed and bold is my grandpa that went to Orem High School, was a state championship football player, quarterback, and my grandma that was the head cheerleader of Orem High
How
School.
all-American.
And, right?
Seriously, it sounds
But
perfect.
like unashamed, they still to this day wear those the Orem Tiger
Sick.
stuff with pride, and they
cool.
are bold and they feel that. So to get to have Unashamed Collective almost meet together with this unashamed for your team, this bold love that you have for your team. I just think
I'm
it's
on
kind of
Jesus'
it's kind of
team.
a match.
Yeah.
I'm on
I'm on
Jesus'.
Team Jesus.
Yeah. Well, and even taking it a step further of like the team, of course we're on the same team as Christians, right?
Yeah.
Even though sometimes they don't think that we are. We are. And I want it to stay that way. And that's one of the things that I've noticed as I was thinking about this around the same time is there's there's so many Christian brands out there, and we're seeing them pop up, and we're seeing a lot of really cool things happen in Christian music and Christian apparel, in just that whole
Shout
world.
Out
There's
Forrest Frank, by the way.
yeah,
We love
that's
you
the
guys.
best. Yes, we're gonna get a hat on him. This is a prophecy.
This is a
We're going to get one on Forrest Frank someday.
Your little boys, can you imagine?
Oh, dude.
so
they
fun.
would think that's the
We're going
coolest.
to his concert.
Are
side
you?
note.
You are.
Yeah, so this can't be leaked to Monroe or my kids. But
They don't know.
They don't know, and we're giving it to Monroe for his birthday.
That's so
We're
exciting.
taking the
Are
whole
all of
family,
them?
to see Forrest Frank. Aside from Olivia, she won't understand. But
Yeah.
we're all
Right.
going to Forrest Frank.
Oh,
So,
they're
so-
gonna love it.
That's so exciting. Wait, where?
it's in Salt Lake.
What?
Yeah, May 3rd. It's our anniversary, but we're just gonna take all the kids.
I want to
on May
go.
3rd.
I want to go celebrate your anniversary.
That's gonna
With
be.
Forrest
They're
Frank.
It's gonna
love
be
that.
insane.
But we're gonna get a hat on Forrest Frank. I'm like talking right into the mic about
It's
that.
gonna happen.
But I have felt this revival amongst Christians,
sure.
and we're seeing it statistically. We're seeing
Yeah.
it in every way, and I'm starting to see it in Latter-day Saints as well. And you know, there's a lot of talk going on right now about like people leaving the church in droves, and though that may be true statistically, actually the last year or two, it's or the last in recent history, it's going up.
Yeah.
But because all we hear is people leaving, we don't see the actual statistics. And there's a guy on X on Twitter who posts these all the time, these statistics straight from the church, and he's like, actually, there's a revival going on.
Love it.
And so, it's kind of taking what you were saying up a notch, like our team is Christianity, but even further, like how many Latter-day Saint brands are out there that are unashamed? It's easy because it's popular right now to be an unashamed Christian, but how easy is it right now to be an unashamed Latter-day Saint? And so I think that's where this takes it
Even a step
further,
Yeah.
is like, I'm unashamed about my belief in Jesus Christ, and I'm unashamed about my belief in Joseph Smith in Russell M. Nelson as prophets. I'm unashamed in priesthood power, in the restoration. I'm unashamed in that, whereas I used to feel like in a politically correct world, in a world that was trying to hush
Somewhat muted.
Yes, I'm muted. And especially as this kind of revival is happening, it's really giving me courage to say I'm unashamed of those things. And where maybe there's things that I'm not totally unashamed of,
Yeah.
I need to get to the point where I'm unashamed, because I think that's the whole point of following Christ, is being willing to give up whatever of the world and my own will to Him.
100% agree. And that doesn't come overnight. Like that
No.
comes with effort, that comes with trials, that comes with living through difficulties and relying on Him. And I think that all of these things we're trying to do in the Unashamed Collective is just giving us another touch point that can help us get to that point of being unashamed. And one thing I want to mention, speaking about we being unashamed and us, one thing I've been thinking as we've been prepping for this recording and sitting here now is, I hope this is one of the few times that we're on camera. I know that sounds odd. And when somebody starts a company, they say
agree.
they say like, I want to ride this. Like I want to be the face of this. I'm going to carry this into the horizon and bear this flag. We felt it important to do this recording because people need to know where it started. It wasn't orchestrated in some dark room with, sinister purposes. It came from real people.
Yeah.
It came from a father of five. Father of five?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mother of soon to be
Not the
two.
same five, just to clarify.
Yes, very different. Very
It's five
different.
different. Five different five. We'll cut this part.
Yeah, let me restart. Okay, we'll say, and great. Okay.
But also, I kind of want to include it all. Anyway, keep going.
So, one thing that it sounds a little bit bizarre, but I hope that this is one of the few times that we're on camera.
Yeah.
And that's not because I want to go, it's not because I'm not unashamed. It's not because I don't want to be on camera. But I think when most people start a company or a brand, they say oh, I want to be the face of this.
Yeah.
I'm going to carry this into the horizon. I'm going to carry the banner. But the fact of the matter is, the banner is the banner of Christ. And we're trying to start a collective or a group of people that share the same sentiment, that I'm unashamed. And I want to wear the name of Christ, to be His disciple. And so it's not about me. It's not about Zach. It's not about John. It's not about Brinkley. It's about everyone working together in Zion, trying to glorify Christ and prepare the world for His second coming. That President Nelson spoke about, it is literally the time to prepare the world for His second coming. And what a better way to do that than be wearing things that remind us of that externally, and be prompting conversations with others.
Well, and I feel like we're being called to it as members of the church, as Christians, to prepare for that. And the cool thing is, Heavenly Father knows us, and He knows what our skills are. He knows what we care about. And so I think He's inspiring, I'm seeing it all over the place. He's inspiring people to do things in the language that they understand, or the interest that they have, because He knows that's how a lot of this generation works. And so He's saying, I think to us, this is something that you guys think is cool, and it's going to help get my name out there. And we've talked about this before in meetings, of just the urgency that we feel to put this out there, and to get the word out, and to make this something where we can really start getting Christ's name and His word through scriptures, through these campaigns, and just furthering His message. And that's really what we want. And yes, we want to make really cool stuff too. And He loves when we're creative.
Sure.
And so I think that I have a good feeling that He cares about this, which feels good.
Yeah.
It feels good to we've felt that many times separately and together, that we feel supported in this, and that this is a good thing.
And to add to that, to me, the Unashamed Collective is a collective of people, not only for us to have a platform to be able to promote the good word of the restored gospel of Jesus Christ, but to have a collective of people that have the same beliefs down to the very little nitty gritty things that maybe are unpopular in a lot of our social circles, or things where you maybe feel a little bit isolated or alone, but to come together with a collective of people that also believe in Jesus Christ, not only in Jesus Christ, but the restored gospel of Jesus Christ and all the things that come with that come with following President Nelson, to living within your covenants, doing those types of things, just having a group of people that feel the same way. And that was something, I don't know if it's just because my current daily intake is from an 18-month-old
Yeah.
or what, but it's really,
From the
really,
mouth of babes.
it's from the mouth of babes, but it's really encouraging to be in a collective, if you want to call it, of people that feel the same way.
Well, and I think it's so necessary in these days, as we're following the prophet's command to prepare for the second coming, to join together with those that believe the same as us, to strengthen each other, and not only with those that believe the same as us,
Sure.
but to live alongside and to help each other to become better through that. Because if we were to listen to the world and what people say on social media, it's that people are leaving in droves. But that's actually not the truth.
Yeah.
Yes, that is true in some instance, but that's not the only thing that's going on.
Right.
There's also millions of people that are living their faith unashamed and not putting it on social media. They're not putting out, but we don't hear about that as much because it's not controversial. And so I love that we're uplifting a lot of those people and a lot of those voices, like you're talking about, that maybe are at home and are behind the scenes sometimes, or whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
And give them a voice, give us all a voice in sharing the gospel and sharing our testimonies online or in person or wherever.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a. Oh,
I was
sorry.
just going to say one last thing I wanted to mention was, as Latter-day Saints, we're creating this brand that might have some innate symbolism. Like we'll probably do some collections around, I don't know, Laban's sword or something other cool
Yes.
concepts. Like,
I wanted to ask, what does it mean to you to live unashamed?
Oh, that's deep.
What does it mean to live? Somebody that is looking at the Unashamed Collective, how are they living their lives? How are we? And that's not to say that we are perfectly unashamed. Let me just put that out.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
In case somebody uses this against us someday, we are not perfectly unashamed. We're striving.
We're
yeah.
trying.
For me, the terminology that comes to mind is quiet confidence. The reason why is unashamed doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to stand on a stone wall and be like, repent. Like I'm not going to be declaring from the rooftops. Like, to be unashamed means I am not worried about the criticism or the attention or whatever it may be, positive or negative, because I just know that I'm confident, quietly confident of my relationship with Jesus Christ, my beliefs, and nothing can change that. And so therefore I am unashamed. It's a state of being because of a conviction I have. And it's not dependent or reliant upon how often I say it or how loud I say it or in what settings I say it. I am quietly confident about what I believe.
Oh, that's good.
I like that quiet confidence. We ask me again.
Yeah. What does it mean to live unashamed?
What does it mean to live unashamed?
Yeah. Like, what does that look like in your life?
To
Or in
me-
like your parents or people that
Yeah.
you've looked up to that you would consider unashamed?
To me, being unashamed means I know I am a daughter of God and I act accordingly. I have my sights set on something more and I act accordingly. I'm a daughter of God and I strive every day to try to live my life accordingly.
It's good.
Your turn.
I feel like you both killed it.
Yeah, what
How can I follow those?
What
Are you
does it
kidding me?
look to be unashamed? Is that what it was?
Yeah. I should have prepared an answer but I didn't.
I didn't either.
I know. I kind of sprung that on you guys. To me, living unashamed means sharing what I believe to be true without worrying about the repercussions, whether that's relationships or whether that is public ridicule if I'm posting on social media. and I guess that's personal for me is because I used to feel unashamed. And then for a period of my life, I felt like I couldn't say anything because I was going to offend somebody online.
Interesting.
Because they didn't believe that way or for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But I've gotten back to this place where I'm like, I don't care what other people think about it.
Yeah.
I get to share what I believe and not have to worry about what people think about me because I am unashamed. I'm unashamed in the things that I believe because I've gone through a lot of work to get to that point. Because if I'm being honest, there have been periods of my life internally where I did feel ashamed of certain things that I believed in or that I was not sure that I believed in. And so for me to say that I'm unashamed now feels really like it just means that I am not scared to say out loud that I'm preparing for the second coming of Jesus Christ. And I don't have to worry about sounding like a psychopath or a prepper because the prophet has asked me to do that
Yeah.
and to focus on that. And because I believe so strongly in the prophet being a mouthpiece for God, I know that I am on the right path following him and that I can be unashamed in saying that.
Love that.
So
Awesome.
there's
I think that is so applicable in today's world of social platforms.
Yeah.
I really believe that.
So I thought it'd be cool.
Can I read something
Oh
real
yeah,
fast?
please.
I want to read something from the Fellowship of the Unashamed. And it's one of my favorite paragraphs. It's, "My pace is set, my gait is fast, my goal is heaven, my road is narrow, my way rough, my companions few, my guide is reliable, and my mission is clear."
Mic drop.
I love that.
So good.
Yeah, so actually let's talk about that for just a second. This is something, my sister shared this with me. She served as a missionary in the South, and at some point she brought it back, or she made me aware of something called the Fellowship of the Unashamed. And it's been given credit to a lot of different people, and so we're not sure where it came from. But somebody really wise wrote it, and I think somebody had to have quoted it in conference at some point. But it's called the Fellowship of the Unashamed, and so when we were thinking of names, I think at one point this came up as something that was really inspirational
For sure.
for us, and it goes along perfectly with our message.
Yep.
that we want to share the gospel. And if there were a foundational scripture, let me read that. It's Romans 1:16. "For I am not ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ, for it is the power of God unto salvation to everyone that believeth, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek." And I just love that because I think there's such power in that first phrase of, "For I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ." And, this is coming from an apostle who, many of them went the way of unashamed to the point of death, if not all of them. I think all of them. All of them ended in the same way that Christ did, which was dying for something that you believe in. And I think unashamed at its most, the most magnified, or at
The
its
epitome of.
Thank you, of being unashamed is being willing to
lay down your life
for what you believe in, because you know that it's truth. Do we want to read a few other scriptures?
Yeah, I love the quote by Elder Maxwell.
Yeah.
He says, "If we are serious about our discipleship, Jesus will eventually request each of us to do the very thing which is most difficult for us to do. Sometimes we are too comfortable with our discipleship, and we want to live the gospel on our terms, not his." And I should talk about a wake-up call moment. And I don't read that in saying, like, therefore wear our hats, because wearing our hats will be the most difficult thing you ever do in your life.
Right.
No, but I think that's a microcosm of that, is saying, look, one small step you can do to push yourself out of the comfort zone, especially in Utah. I think I was not raised in Utah. I was raised in North Carolina.
Yeah.
My nickname in the entire high school was Mormon.
Mine too.
They called me, like, "Sup, Mormon?" And it wasn't derogatory. It was just a statement. Everyone knew that I didn't drink. I would throw parties called Mormon shindigs. Literally called them shindigs.
Of course you did. Like, I would expect nothing less from you.
where we'd play like apples to apples and drink root beer until like midnight and goof around. And I eventually had other friends come up to me and say like, will you invite me to the next shindig?
I love that.
And it was awesome. Like,
Yeah.
and there were some parties I didn't go to. But I think in Utah, the reason why I brought that up is because in Utah, the church is just naturally infused into the culture.
Sure.
And so I think any way a member of the church who lives in Utah, like us, can do to deepen their conviction and evaluate their lives to be more guided by the gospel of Christ and not by the administration of the structure of the church. Not saying that's a bad thing. Like, we need structure.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
the church is so big, we have to have administration to be a scaffolding for the gospel of Christ. But the more we can try to live the gospel rather than live in the administration, the better.
And that looks different for everyone.
Totally.
And I think that's one of the coolest things that we talk about often is how we all are in completely different shoes,
Very
but also
different.
feel so connected over at the same time.
Yep.
It's kind of cool.
Over our conviction to get the word out and to get Jesus out there.
Yeah.
And the restored gospel.
Totally.
Okay, let's read.
3 more minutes.
Yeah, let's see. There's a few that actually have the quote "unashamed" in them.
Are they the big star ones? Or?
Yeah, they're at the bottom. They're at the bottom. So,
Okay, President Nelson.
yep, and Elder Holland. I love this one. He says, Elder Jeffrey R. Holland said, "You may wonder if it is worth it to take a stand. You may be mocked. You may feel alone. But I testify that our courage will be rewarded, that Jesus Christ stands with the unashamed." Woo! I feel that
Power.
one.
Jesus Christ
And that we are
stands
we are never truly alone when we stand with him. I love that. I think that's a
Power.
perfect definition of that.
I love
is
that.
so
Jesus
good,
Christ
being
stands
unashamed.
with the unashamed. Can I read a quote from Elder Richard G. Scott?
Yeah.
"Do not compromise your values. Do not fear the ridicule of the world. God will strengthen those who stand firm. Be unashamed in your discipleship."
I'll follow it up with the next one. Elder Maxwell again. "True disciples do not seek popularity. They do not dilute doctrine to fit in. They remain steadfast, faithful, and unashamed."
I hope that's something we can do with the Unashamed Collective is not dilute the doctrine to fit in. Don't dilute what the actual doctrine is and the
Yeah.
things that we know to be true. I feel like that's a thing that's happening.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's okay if something's a little bit uncomfortable. We don't have to shy away from it,
Mhm.
Yeah.
but to discuss it and to live it together.
Yeah.
I think that's, and here I want to mention before we have to wrap up is going back and linking what you had just said, Brink, about the combination of we don't want to be on camera a lot,
Yeah.
is we're introducing a concept called the Unashamed Council,
Yeah.
which is we're going to be asking essentially a select few people to represent the Unashamed brand and participate in conversations, dialogue, answer questions, or promote conversation around what it means to be unashamed in your belief. And there will be a handful of people, right? And I think this first little set might be 2 or 3. Maybe it'll be more, but they're going to essentially be a part of this council for 6 months. And then they're going to pass the baton. And after that, after they get to participate on this council, we'll have a gathering where people talk about what it was to be on the Unashamed Council, what questions they got, and then they pass it and they nominate other people to participate on the council. Where, we're not as the mission statement said, we're not replacing the church. We are amplifying its message in an additional means and method. Yeah. But I'm really excited about that concept because it allows other people to participate in this, and it's not just us.
It's the collective.
It's the collective.
Yep.
It's not us.
We are all the collective. We are not the collective. We are all the big we.
The big we, not the small we.
Yes. Okay, let me end with this because I feel like sometimes it can sound controversial to have an unashamed belief or to be unashamed. That can sound really controversial because it goes against the world a lot of times, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're being not ashamed. So I want to just end on a different flavor of quote from President Nelson. He says, "You were born to be a light. Do not be afraid to let that light shine. Be strong, be faithful, be unashamed of the truth." And I love that because it doesn't feel reactive. Whereas being unashamed, a lot of times that's like we're defending the church or we're defending our beliefs. Whereas this is very proactive, and we need both. But this one feels very proactive of like being unashamed also means I'm going to go be a light, and I'm not going to be afraid to let that light shine. I'm not going to hold back who I am and my beliefs. I'm going to just let it shine. And I love that. And I think it's kind of can be a guiding principle for us as we move forward with the Unashamed Collective, is both defending the church, defending Jesus Christ, and defending the restoration of the gospel, and letting our light so shine, and showing the many people all around the world and here in Utah and wherever, and showing their light so that we can point as many people as we can to the Savior.
One thing I wanna touch on that came to mind is that in that, when he says like let it shine, it's not like find the people who don't believe and shine a flashlight in their eyes and convince them of it. It's not
Right.
like a act upon someone. It is act, and then others can see it and participate if they so desire. Like I want this project to be an invitation and not argumentative.
Yes.
I want people wearing this hat to be excited about being unashamed, but not utilizing it as a bludgeoning force. So I think that was really important to me when you said that, is like, wow, it's something you do that can show other people. It's not something you're doing at other people to show them.
I
Yes.
just thought of an interesting concept that maybe you guys could help me more eloquently
Sure, go for it.
present. But for the Unashamed Collective, what is there to be ashamed about when you are a disciple of Jesus Christ? Have you thought of it that way? We always focus on talking about unashamed.
yeah.
But what is there to be ashamed about? When you talk about putting your light out, that's just an interesting to think about as part of the collective, if you are a member and a disciple of Jesus Christ. Just, I can't think of...
Yeah, the thing is that there's really nothing. Like, there's nothing to be...
There's nothing to be ashamed about.
of.
So it's not even just
It's
being
almost-
unashamed. It's just...
It's almost like the concept of people being ashamed is entirely a shadow cast by the world. Like, if you look at the doctrine of Christ and just being a good person, because that's what Christ said, is be a good person, believe in me, endure to the end, participate in these ordinances that help you remember me.
Yeah.
If you look at it in a silo, there is nothing to be ashamed of.
Nothing to be ashamed
But it's when the world casts a shadow or
Yes.
twists it or makes it in a perverse way, where then people are like, wait, that now I should be ashamed.
Just when you talk about light, and when I have felt and touched the light of Jesus Christ and all that embodies, there's nothing that I can be ashamed of, because I have felt it, I have witnessed it, and I can't be ashamed. I am unashamed because there's nothing to be ashamed about to me.
Love that concept.
So good.
All
Cool. Well, about how we want to approach this, not like in their faces and shining the flashlight.
I love
That's
that.
where
That
I
was-
thought
yeah.
of the scripture again of, sorry, say it one more time.
Alma 38:12.
Alma 38:12. Okay, here it is.
Did you find it? I have
Yes.
something I want to read to you guys, not necessarily to go on the record.
There it is. So
On the record.
in
On the
Alma
record.
30, yeah, in Alma 38:12 in the Book of Mormon, it says, "Use boldness, but not overbearance, and also see that ye bridle all your passions, that ye may be filled with love. See that ye refrain from idleness." So I love that, use boldness, but not overbearance, and I think that is, in my mind, one of our absolute North Star guiding principles in our approach to the collective, to the apparel, the hats. Everything that we do is we're using boldness, but not overbearance.
Love
We're
it.
not pushing anything in anybody's face. We're not shining that flashlight in people's face.
Look at my light, huh? You see
Yeah.
it?
But we will use boldness.
Love it.